transgendered woman by the name of Munroe who has been sacked by L'Oreal for her racist remarks. I said to you guys that I wasn't going to be doing another race video, but here I am again, because every single time I'm like all cool, everything's fine, somebody goes and drops some mess.
Girl, I don't want a mess, but that's what I live for.
So join me while we take a look at how this very beautiful woman was sacked from a major nationwide campaign. Y'all ready? Let's go.
More money, I want your money, I want more money, I want your money. More money, I want your money, I want more money, I want your money. Once upon a time not long ago, I was a hoe. And I'm admitting it, I won't take it back. Cause after this shit, I was a hoe. And I'm admitting it, I won't take it back. Cause after this shit, I was a hoe. More money, I want your money, I want more money, I want your money. More money, I want your money, I want more money.
Because we're from Britain, okay? We don't spill tea, we drink it. Bitch! Yes, it's your girl Paige back at it again with yet another video for you hoes. If you missed me, I bet you have. Okay, so this has been all over the tabloids, all over the news. Everybody has been talking about it over the past 12 or so hours now, and I felt like it was only fair that I discussed this issue too, because I kind of feel like it's my place as a person of colour to address this and say how I feel, and possibly an alternative opinion to the majority. Now, before I go on, I just want to make a very small disclaimer. I am going to be 100% honest with you. I don't know what the correct terminology is for a lot of the things that I'm going to say. So if I do come across as offensive in any way, please just know that it's due to my ignorance, and please feel free to comment in the comment section down below to re-educate myself. I just don't want anything that I say just to be misconstrued as transphobic or anything like that, purely because I just don't know the correct terminology. Now, that said, let's get straight into it. Munroe is a 27-year-old female from London who was born a boy but has fully transitioned into a woman. Her main form of income is as a DJ. However, she has been a part of a lot of major campaigns, working with brands such as Illa Mascara as well as Boy London. Munroe broke history as being the first transgendered female to be featured on a major campaign for L'Oreal. This girl has been everywhere in stores up and down the UK, big banners as the spokesperson and brand ambassador for L'Oreal True Match Foundation. This girl kind of got herself into a bit of controversy after leaving a Facebook post which literally everywhere on the internet is nowhere to be seen anymore. I mean, even the biggest newspapers such as The Sun, the Daily Mail, etc., don't have the original screenshotted copy of her words on Facebook. Her claims were essentially that all white people are racist.
All white people are racist.
Oh, hell no!
And this left a sour taste in L'Oreal's mouth, to the point of which they actually made a formal statement on disassociating from Munroe due to her statements on Facebook. So I know what you're probably thinking. You're thinking to yourself, well, what has she actually said? What could be so bad that a brand has decided to disassociate with her? Well, unfortunately, all I've got is a transcript, but I will read that out to you. So in her Facebook rant, she stated, "Honestly, I don't have the energy to talk about the racial violence of white people anymore. Yes, all white people. Because most of y'all don't even realise or refuse to acknowledge that your existence, privilege and success as a race is built up on the backs, blood and death of people of colour. Your entire existence is drenched in racism, from microaggressions to terrorism. You guys built the blueprint for this. Come and see me when you realise that racism isn't learned, it's inherited and consciously or unconsciously passed down through privilege. Once white people begin to admit that their race is the most violent and oppressive force of nature on earth, then we can talk. Until then, stay acting shocked about how this world continues to say at the hands of your ancestors and your heads that remain buried in the sand with your hands over your ears." This post has since been deleted, probably due to the ton of flack she ended up getting for this post. However, there are two sides to this coin. A lot of people are saying saying that what she said was 100% true, and that socially as a society we need to accept that white people hold a level of privilege that the rest of us don't, and that once white people begin to accept their privilege and the impact that their privilege has, then we can begin to grow as a society and use that privilege for the greater good. On the other side, people are saying this is incredibly biased and incredibly racist, and people are still going along with the notion that essentially what my ancestors and what my forefathers did is not necessarily a depiction of who I am today and what I decide to project to the world. Now, whilst I can understand both sides of the coin, the issue I have isn't with this open discussion, this open dialogue that needed to happen. My issue is that L'Oreal has decided to drop this transgendered female, thus proving how disposable minorities really are. L'Oreal posted a very public stance as to how they feel about Munroe and the reasons why they decided to axe her from their roster. They stated, L'Oreal champions diversity. Comments by Munroe Bergdorf are at odds with our values, so we have decided to end our partnership with her. This to me is a bit of an issue. It seems to me that L'Oreal only champions diversity if that diversity keeps their mouth closed. And the reason I have a huge issue with that is because of personal experience. As some of you may know, and most of you probably don't, in the UK, what I used to do, I don't do it so much anymore, is work as a plus size model. If you want to hear about that, I'll give you a story another day, girl, because we have not got the time.
Ain't nobody got time for that.
But a lot of the reason why I was the worst kind of plus size model to ever have work for you is because I have an opinion. And it was my opinion that got me into so much trouble. From telling Gemma Collins that her clothing is terrible and the way that she speaks to people is derogatory, to completely walking away from contracts because I felt that I wasn't being paid enough. I was literally the worst model that you could ever have because I wasn't going to shut up and be pretty. As an individual, I knew that my presence as a black, fat woman meant that I had a voice for a whole group of women behind me who were backing me and wanting to see me get success. Because of that, I kind of felt like it was my obligation to speak up when things were going left. And with all of the stuff that's happening in the world at present, I feel that as a person of colour, she has a right to be able to speak on issues. We all have opinions. Opinions are like arseholes. Everybody has them.
All right, now I want you boys to scream real loud at my ass.
The idea that L'Oreal champions diversity purely by adding a couple of extra shades into their roster, to me, isn't enough to say that you champion diversity. Having a photo shoot for the Prince's Trust with a majority white cast and having a token black person and a token person in a wheelchair, to me, does not say that you're championing diversity. It's just that you acknowledge that they exist. My point being is whether you agree with what she has said or not, the point is that she's entitled to her opinion and she's entitled to speak her truth. And the opinion that she presented wasn't an opinion that was a minority. It in fact was a majority. A lot of people over the internet have cited that what L'Oreal has said and what L'Oreal has done is a lot more monumental than they even thought. Every major newspaper on this planet, every major news resource on this planet is talking about this situation. Why? Because it's a current issue that people are talking about, that people are facing on a day-to-day basis. So essentially what L'Oreal were really trying to say is we like you and what you represent, but we don't respect you and we don't respect your opinion. This has led to a lot of people making their stance known on social media. A plus-size blogger and vlogger by the name of Grace Victory posted this tweet. She herself is a brand ambassador for L'Oreal True Match, which means that due to the fact that they did not support this young lady and took a stance against her, she is no longer going to be working with the brand. So I'm led to assume by this tweet. Side note, I did reach out to Grace Victory and she didn't get back to me. It might have been a time thing because it was late in the evening, but I did try and contact her to get her side of the story. However, she did not respond. Just to let you know, she did get back in touch with me and she did in fact leave a statement. She said, hey, as of July 2016, I haven't worked with L'Oreal until recently on an Instagram photo to promote last year's campaign. Whilst I cannot pull out of an old campaign due to them buying the rights to use my photo and video, I will not be working with them on new ones. My morals mean more to me than money, and I cannot endorse a brand that uses inclusivity as a tokenism. I completely am in support of Munroe. So there you have it. Anyway, since this entire debacle happened, Munroe has actually issued yet another public status, of which she stated that actually the information that they ran with was completely taken out of context and was in relation to everything that's been happening in Charlottesville and the fact that a lot of history is built on the back of white supremacy, which if this wasn't the case, we wouldn't have seen so many monumental statues taken down. Munroe's second public tweet goes as stated. First up, let's put my words into context as the Daily Mail failed to do so. This rant was a direct response of the white supremacists in Charlottesville. It was not written this week. Secondly, identifying that the success of the British Empire has been at the expense of people of colour is not something that should offend anyone. This is a fact. It happened. Slavery and colonialism at the hands of white supremacy played a huge part in the shaping of the United Kingdom and as much as the West into the superpower that it is today. Whether you are aware of it or not, in today's society, the lighter your skin tone, people of colour included, the more social privileges you will be afforded, whether that's access to housing, healthcare, employment or credit. A person's race and skin tone has a huge part to play in how they're treated by society as a whole, based on their proximity to whiteness. When I stated that all white people were racist, I was addressing the fact that Western society as a whole is a system rooted in white supremacy, designed to benefit, prioritise and protect white people before any other race. Unknowingly, white people are socialised to be racist from birth onwards. It is not something genetic. No one is born racist. We also live in a society where men are socialised to be sexist, women are socialised to be submissive, gay people are socialised to be ashamed of their sexuality due to the heterosexual people's homophobia, cisgender people are socialised to be transphobic. We do not need to be this way. We are born this way and can learn to reject it. We are socially conditioned to think this way from an early age. With the right to education, empathy and open-mindedness, we can unlearn these socializations and live a life where we don't oppress others and see things from other people's point of view. Girl, she went through. So when a transgender woman of colour who has been selected to front a big brand campaign to combat discrimination and lack of diversity in the beauty industry speaks on her actual lived experience of being discriminated against because of her race and identifies where the root of this discrimination lies, white supremacy and systematic racism, that big brand cannot simply state that her thoughts are in line with the ethics of their brand. If you truly want equality and diversity, you need to actively work to dismantle the sources of what you created, this discrimination and this division in the first place. You cannot simply cash in because you've realised there's a hole in the market and that there is money to be made from people of colour who have darker skin tones. The irony of this all is that L'Oreal Paris invited me to be a part of a beauty campaign that stands for diversity. The fact that up until very recently, there has been next to no mainstream brands offering makeup for black women and ethnic minorities. It is due to self-racism within the industry. Most big brands did not want to sell to black women. Most big brands did not want to acknowledge that there was a huge demographic that was being ignored because they did not believe that there was money to be made by selling beauty products to ethnic minorities. If L'Oreal truly wants to offer empowerment to underrepresented women, then they need to acknowledge the reason why these women are underrepresented in the industry in the first place. This is discrimination, an action that punches down from a place of social privilege. We need to talk about why women of colour were and still are discriminated against within the industry. not just see them as a source of revenue. Racism may be a jagged pill to swallow, but I suggest you force it down quickly if you want to be a part of the solution. Doing nothing does nothing and solves nothing. Empowerment and inclusivity are not trends. These are people's lives and experiences. If brands are going to use empowerment as a tool to push a product to people of colour, then the least they can do is actually work us to dismantle the source, not throw us under the bus when it comes to the crunch. At times like this, it becomes blindly obvious what is a genuine allyship and what is performative. I stand for tolerance and acceptance, but neither can be achieved if we are unwilling to discuss why intolerance and hate exists in the first place. Bitch. She read you. She read your sister, she read your mother, she read all of you.
I will read you to filth.
Come at me, bro. What have you got to say? Dress and undress these people. Button up their suit and tie and take that suit and tie down, bitch, because we're gonna have to undress these people. Because if you need me to address you, I will address you properly, bitch. Woo! I was absolutely living, and I'll tell you why. Because nothing to me is more important than when people speak their own truth. You don't have to agree. This is the whole point, and I think this is the part that people don't necessarily get about the internet, is that we don't have to agree. You don't have to agree with me, I don't have to agree with you, but we do have the right to be adults and agree to disagree on some things. And even if you can't get on board with everything that this young lady has said, she is speaking her own truth, which is not something that you can discredit. Colorism within the beauty industry is prevalent. It's the same reason why there are still not so many people of colour representing national brand campaigns. This gap in the market was something that they filled, and then when it came down to it, they didn't necessarily want to stand by the person. This is why there is so much importance and so much stigma put on black-owned brands, and people do black-owned brand makeup hauls and support these small underrepresented companies within the beauty industry that need to be uplifted, because these bigger companies such as L'Oreal, such as Maybelline, such as all of these big high street brands and upscale market brands aren't representing the people that exist. The point of the matter is that people like her, people like me, we exist. Whether you like it or not, we exist. We are here. And honestly, I think there is so much to be said, and take this as you will, because I know a lot of people are going to be like, Paige, you can't say that. Well, I'm going to say it, bitch. I'm going to say it, bitch. I think that there's something to be said when there's somebody who is the likes of James Charles, who is able to say such a racially insensitive thing, culturally insensitive thing, and still continue to have the backing of CoverGirl as the face of CoverGirl. Screw. Just another side note. Even the likes of Cheryl Cole being a part of this campaign as well for L'Oreal. She's a part of the campaign, and we all know, especially in Britain, I don't know about you guys in America, but we all know that she had an extremely racially aggravated attack on a lady in a toilet, a person of colour in a toilet, and that seems to be completely forgotten. However, such a rash decision was made about Munroe. That's all. Back to James Charles. All that this guy needed to do was issue an absolute mediocre apology that so many people, and if it wasn't for you guys saying this is not acceptable, so many people came to James Charles and said, this is not cool. You can't just apologize this. You can't just make it go away. And if you guys never did that, then he wouldn't have been forced to issue a proper apology. But the point of the matter is that CoverGirl allowed the bracket of which he could express himself and apologize for the things that he said. There was no bracket granted to this transgendered person of colour. It was, you're sacked. Don't like what you said, you're sacked. Even the most recent tea with Kathleen Lights, who has been seen on video saying the N-word, no rash decisions by any of the brands that she's associated with have come to light. Nobody's suddenly dropping Kathleen because of what has been said. Now, my thing is I know that Grace Victory has already posted earlier about her stance on the entire situation. I understand that according to this, so I'm led to believe by people and sources, that she's no longer going to be working with True Match and L'Oreal for this campaign. My question is are the other people of colour who are representing True Match and L'Oreal, are they going to stand down? And I'm talking about two main people in particular, two big people who mean a lot to me. I'm talking about the likes of Beauty by JJ and Patricia Bright. Are you guys going to at least acknowledge and take a stance on this? Because I think that that's going to be a massive decider for me of whether me as a person watching you who is a fan of you and your content, is going to be a massive decider to me of whether I'm going to continue to support you and your content as well. No tea, no shade, but I need to know, what are you guys going to do? I have got mad respect for Grace for turning around and saying this is not acceptable, and I stand by this young lady and I will turn down any work that I get from L'Oreal and True Match at this moment in time. But now I want to know what you guys do, big ball players in this YouTube game, what you guys are going to do. And I can't wait to find out what exactly it is that L'Oreal is going to say after all this, when the majority is actually backing this transgendered person of colour who has a voice. Also, I think it's good for us to acknowledge that not all models are going to stay silent. Not all models are going to stand by and let things happen. And I think it's great that she allowed herself to express her views despite what everybody had said. She could have backtracked, but she didn't. She stood her ground, and I respect that so much. Anyway, guys, tell me what you guys think. Do you think that what she said was absolutely ludicrous and racist, and there is a reason why she should not be a part of this campaign? Or do you think that this is a voice that needs to be heard, and whether you like it or not, respect it or not, she is entitled to her opinion just like everybody else? Tell me what you guys think in the comment section down below. And remember to give this video a thumbs up if you like it. If you don't, I don't give a shit anyway. And also don't forget to hit that subscribe and hit that notification bell so that you guys get a notification every time that Petty Paige posts new content. I personally think that opinions are like arseholes and everybody has them.
Call me an asshole. One more time.
And regardless of what anybody thinks, we have to take the time to respect that she is willing to stand by her own convictions and stand in her truth. And regardless of what anybody thinks, I think it shows great strength and great character to stand by your truth. But that's just my opinion, and don't take my opinion for it because I'm just Petty.
Too much money in the bank. I ain't tryna play no games. Fuck, I hate it gon' sack. I be on my hustle all day, little bitch. Stay in your place, motherfucker, I'm paid. Too much money in the bank. I ain't tryna play no games. Fuck, I hate it gon' sack. I be on my hustle all day, little bitch. Stay in your place, motherfucker, I'm paid.
Excuse me, bitch.